What's the worst scandal to happen at your school? The math teacher left his wife of 18 years for one of the graduating seniors. They have been married for the senior's entire life. Skeptical. I feel bad for that woman. My English teacher in the 11th grade was sleeping with the whole girls' basketball team in exchange for straight A's. I actually failed English that year, but when that made the news, my school said I didn't have to go anymore because he wasn't doing the grading properly. Everyone who had his class got a B. Freshman year, a junior accused the PE teacher of sexually assaulting her after hours in the locker room. He was put on leave and eventually got off on a technicality. Senior year, there was a freak snowstorm in April, during which the quietest and nicest stoner in our class went missing. A day later they found his car in a ditch, and a week later when the snow melted, they found his body. He'd crashed and, in his presumed high as F state, gotten out to walk for help with no coat on. He eventually found a telephone pole and sat down against it to rest and was believed to have frozen to death in the storm. Seeing his mom at her only child's funeral still haunts me. The principal slept with a student and his nudes and sex were leaked. People's willingness to voluntarily collect electronic receipts that incriminate them astounds me. Some students broke into a local elderly reverend's home to rob him, thinking he was away. He sadly wasn't, and they proceeded to bludgeon him and his wife to death while they were sleeping with baseball bats and beer bottles. They were caught pretty quickly, and although their names legally couldn't be published because they were minors, everyone including the local media knew who committed the crime. Media caused a circus at our school for weeks, harassing any student for comment. Many did because they thought it was cool. Although these three kids, 13, 14, 15, were known to cause trouble, no one ever suspected they would be capable of a double homicide. Edit, included above link, web link. Shocking to say the least. There was a kid whose girlfriend brought a knife into school and planned to kill herself in the bathroom. He knew her locker combination, so he took the knife and hid it in his so she wouldn't do it and wouldn't get busted. Someone snitched on him and he got expelled for having a knife on campus. Whole town was pissed. A male gym teacher diddled and some girls volleyball players. Principal got fired for threatening teachers if they didn't produce enough A's and driving a great inflation scandal. That and the usual drugs and such. The first kid sounds like a good guy, didn't deserve that at all. Schools can be dumbasses sometimes, I guess. Yeah, he just didn't want her to hurt herself, and if he'd reported her to the staff she would have been expelled. I get that rules are rules, but sometimes you've got to make exceptions. What? School administrators making a problem they involve themselves in worse? Say it ain't so. In all seriousness, I've never had a good experience with admin staff. One time, a kid came out as gay to a teacher because he was being bullied, and as a teacher the poor dude had to report the threats of violence to his supervisor. Of course the admin team, in their infinite wisdom, decided the parents needed to know the kid was gay. 2 weeks later the kid was homeless when his parents kicked him out. I didn't know him personally, but I heard he got a place to live from some generous soul somewhere in town. A kid in my senior year short story class, who sat directly behind me, was charged with the stabbing, beheading and burning of one of his friends/drug dealer. I remember the day like it was yesterday, sitting in my short story class when my teacher came in tears because she just heard the news. Students didn't find out about it until later. I actually have a friend who testified in his trial because he purchased the murdering materials at the hardware store she worked at. Crazy, man. Did some Googling. Is this in Michigan? Sure is. Student brutally murdered his parents. He was a friend and co-captain of the soccer team. His mom was my English teacher. Web link. This one is incredibly sad. Would it be okay if I get more information as far as the school so I can read articles on it? It was a long time ago, 1980s, web link. The caretaker killed 2 local girls and hid them in the school. He tried using the clay kiln to burn them. He later dumped them a few miles away. What the F when was this? I'm guessing original post is referring to the Soham murders? It happened in August 2002. Thankfully, The guy who did it is rotting in prison. Some highlights: the chorus teacher got caught looking at Lolita porn on his school computer. This kid had nudes of his ex that his friends sent to a bunch of people in school, but he was 18 and she was 14 or 15, so he got expelled, and I believe he was charged with distributing child pornography. We had a whole assembly because of it where the cops came and told us they could see everything on our phones. A kid in my grade and another girl, same girl as in the story above, actually, had sex in the bathroom. I learned about it from my band teacher. Band teacher spreading rumors for F's sake, person facepalming, male sign. The lunch lady was having sex with students and buying them alcohol. This happened at my high school as well. Lunch lady looked a lot like Tim Tebow. Here's a link to the article if anybody is interested. Web link. Kid in my class sent an email to the White House, threatening to kill Socks, the Clintons' cat. Secret Service showed up a few days later after they tracked down the computer. Edit to add, link to the article. Web link. Tell how to avoid the draft. Did he get any punishment? Lifetime ban from ever working for the government. He was on the military track too, but they ripped up his contract. Life hack for the day: if you want to get out of working for the military, threaten to kill an official's cat. A teacher had an affair with a student. She was arrested and released on bail. Then a few days later she sent an email to other teachers saying it wasn't an affair but that she was actually being raped by the student and blackmailed. She even attached screenshots of texts. Later that day, she murdered her husband and committed suicide. Edit. Whoa, this has really blown up. A few people have linked articles in the comments if you are curious. Holy F, that's a sad and wild story. Probably the time a girl gave a guy a BJ in the bathroom. The guy filmed it and sent it to his friend. His friend sent all around the school. Eventually the police had to get involved because the one guy was guilty of distribution of child pornography. A girl in my middle school was telling people she had a hit list of people she was going to kill. Got caught with the list, and was sent to a hospital for a while. She came back a few years later in high school. Edit. Seems like a lot of people had a similar occurrence in school. This was in Michigan. I also had a hit list in middle school because I was a dumbass. It was a group of about 30 guys that would come to school and play a kind of tag game. If you were tagged during the day, you were assassinated and the game was over until the next day. My dumb ass made a hit list with everyone's name on it. Needless to say, this alerted the principal. Edit. We got a talking to, but we weren't in serious trouble. We used to play a similar game using camera phones when they first came out. The kill was made by taking a photo without the victim being aware of it. Lots of us acting strangely in town, looking over shoulders and ducking behind parked cars. No list, but we were given a bit of a talking to as the college thought there was some intricate form of bullying going on. Dude. That happened to us in high school. We had list of targets to assassinate, basically sneaking up and whispering a code phrase, but 4 of us were individually questioned by the school about it. I don't blame them for their due diligence, though. Had I been going through a trench coat phase, the outcome could have been different. History teacher disappeared in the night with the French teacher's wife, and the other French teacher made national news for sexually abusing boys. A overachieving student in my year went nuts and pooped in a bag in a teacher's classroom. She also thought she could run up trees. Turns out she didn't, end up skipping a few years and going to uni early like she was predicted to do. The balance of genius is on a very thin edge. Or the pressure from her parents drove her mad. A kid in my school who was very smart, got great grades, but also a kind of weird guy, ended up having some sort of psychotic break while staying up for days on end working on a pretty big assignment for a class I had with him. He was already going above and beyond by making a very detailed video rather than a PowerPoint like everyone else. But before he even played the video for the class, he went on this super bizarre tirade about the meaning of life and all this existential stuff that made no sense for around 30 minutes before the teacher finally got him to stop. Later that night he was apparently knocking on random doors at 2 a.m. trying to give the people in those homes the same weird speech. Then he went to a psych ward and I haven't heard about him since. This kid was taking his GCSEs, important exams in England until you get older and realize they mean F all. Whilst at an exam some kids got onto his phone, went onto his notes and found a 4,000-word document consisting of his sexual fantasies with other girls in his year. Clearly paid attention in English as there was some clever wordplay, e.g. comparing his cock to some world-famous landmarks. The screenshots found their way into a lot of group chats. There were about 20-odd screenshots, to put into context how long it was, and it basically acted as a vagina repellent for the rest of his time at the school. Important exams in England until you get older and realize they mean F all, perfectly defined. My high school guidance counselor effed a science teacher's wife and everyone knew about it. They got a divorce. Both teachers still work at the same school to this day, and students will never ever let it go. The story has been handed down from year to year. Kids are brutal. We must never let our history die, must we? I wonder if history repeated itself or if it was a one-time thing. Similar thing, but this was at my graduate school. The lab head, principal investigator, was married but was having an affair with one of the postdocs. The wife found out and came to the lab to catch the two and to let them know she knew. Well, it ended up where the wife chased the postdoc, who was sleeping with her husband, around the lab with a scissor. This was in front of everyone, including the numerous shocked grad students. The later divorced the wife and remarried the postdoc he was sleeping with. Then he was able, because he was head of the department, to get his new wife a job as head of her own lab in the same department. 15 years later they still are professors at the institution and still married, but the story has been passed on throughout the years. Grad students to this day still joke about the shady crap, and the professors in question get anonymous gifts around the holidays of scissors from random people at the school. It's become a thing. Mainly because people still find the situation disgusting and wrong, especially since they were allowed to keep their jobs, and because of the rug sweeping, there's not much anyone can do besides sending those people scissors. The scientific community is not without its sex-related scandals. During middle school a few kids sold weed and someone that bought some smoked it in the building, which was just stupid. The kid that sold it to him didn't want to get in trouble, so he pulled the fire alarm so people wouldn't find the kid. We all got to go home afterwards. Honestly, that's some pretty quick thinking. Obviously not very responsible, but the kid that pulled the fire alarm had some pretty sharp self-preservation instincts. Plus, if he got crap for pulling a false alarm, he can legitimately say that he saw smoke. Big brain. Did the kid get caught? Not by the teachers. Nice early home time, hope you said thank you. Long story short, the principal got arrested for hiding cameras in the bathroom. This was back in elementary. He was a total effing creep. What the F, shocked at how many pedo stories there are. Well, honestly, there aren't that many things that qualify as worst scandal. Many interesting things happened, not so many of them caused crap to fly. Hell, if I hadn't seen it I would never have known a teacher broke up a fight by running outside brandishing a hammer. We had a bomb scare that evacuated the school. And the boat cruise company we like to use for grad finally issued a permanent ban when someone unbolted a toilet tank and threw it overboard. But I wouldn't really count any of it as a big scandal. Give me a board funneling tons money or a pedo and that's going to get you an answer. Anything else is probably minor or getting covered up. The Harlem Shake was a craze. We had an RE teacher who desperately enjoyed being the popular teacher, so he got in on the craze. Invited 40 pupils from my year to his classroom at lunch and filmed his own Harlem Shake video, which in itself would have been against safeguarding rules. Thing is, he also taught sex ed, so everyone got into his cupboard before the start of the video for props. The video was essentially a group of 14-year-olds throwing dildos and condoms around the room while he, of his own accord, grinded on a life-size cutout of the Pope. He was suspended under investigation for half a year but surprisingly kept his job. He was a lot more professional when he returned. While he, of his own accord, grinded on a life-size cutout of the Pope. When you Sinead O'Connor yourself. Some dude with a tiny little pecker sent a picture of it, unsolicited, to a girl, and she sent it to all his friends. Wasn't long before like half the school had seen it. A teacher was found having sex with a student on a table in the lunchroom. The student was in 8th grade and her parents knew about it. These are just getting more effed up, shaking my head. The F is this thread, man, laughing my butt off. They knew? When in middle school, the school forced us to give our phones to the vice principal, and they would stay there locked during the day. They got stolen. Around 120 smartphones. Edit, changed president to principal, please don't bully me anymore, laughing my butt off. This locking up can backfire. One year we got together and all agreed to set an alarm on our phones for the same time, at max volume. After that they just said the phones had to be turned off, though. Nope, should have set them 2 to 5 minutes apart so they don't go quiet at the same time. Some of them will have gone to snooze by the time they realize what's going on and disabled the alarms, so you'd still get them going off at random times afterwards. That was clever of them, laughing out loud. What the F are you going to do with 120 phones? That's going to be a hard sell on the Facebook marketplace. Needed new numbers because his ex-girlfriend blocked his. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.